Well, it's always a pleasure to chat to a member of a band that I've followed since the first ever album and to watch the progress of the band. There's been some ups and downs over the last few years with various things, with COVID and record labels vanishing and things like that. But it's always a pleasure to chat to the Quireboys Guy Griffin, all the way from the UK. Guy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, mate? All right?
Very, very well. It's been a while since we caught up in Melbourne when you were here last time. What a fantastic tour that was.
Yeah, it was, and that was just at the time when the dreaded horrible COVID thing came in, and we got back to America to continue with that American tour, but it got sort of curtailed, halfway through that run, and
Yeah.
it was scary times then, actually, wasn't it? It was quite sort of no one knew what was going on, and we had to make a scramble to get home. It was quite a drama getting back, but we got back to the UK, and then 2 years, and here we are now.
Exactly. One of the positives was you did finally get back to the US to finish that tour.
Yeah, that was the thing. It's fulfill all the contractual things we have. That's how I look at things. We wanted to get back and do the shows that people didn't see. Obviously, it's in a different form now, but it's still the rock and roll band, and it's still the rock and roll show. And it was really humbling to do that US tour, because there was so much support from the American fans. There wasn't one negative word from anybody. People were willing to just give the music a listen to. Let the music do the talking, so to speak.
And that's
Um,
fantastic. And that's
it
one
was
thing
great.
one thing I've noticed, and I've heard so much positivity about, is that with the lineup now, you've been able to delve back into the back catalogue to play some of the material that you haven't played for a long, long time,
Yeah.
or some that hasn't even seen the light of live day before.
Yeah, I mean, not as much as I'd like to, if because we have to get together and rehearse. We all don't live in the same town and everything, so you just sort of get together just to brush up before you go on tour. Sometimes you don't even get the chance to do that. But for like this tour we're just doing, that's just coming up, we're doing a lot of different songs, um, but we're able to do the songs people want to hear as well. We'll just see it. We play it by ear now. There's a lot more freedom because we're the musicians playing the songs. We know the songs.
Yeah.
We can do them without any sort of without too much prior preparation.
Yeah, yeah. Well, obviously, we've just touched on the fact that the lineup has changed, and it was very much publicised about what had happened, and it's kind of water under the bridge because 2022 at one point looked really sort of, pardon the pun, down and out. And here we are now with 2022 finishing on a real positive with tours over Europe. I see you've been in France and Sweden and Portugal. The orchestrated show, it's just finished really off on a high.
Yeah, I think we just want to play. We just want to play the music. We just want to go out and play the music that we've always played. Uh, we've been playing this stuff a long time now. We know how to play the songs. Uh, I'm singing the songs that I know I can sing. I can there's songs that I wrote, which a lot of them were written for my voice anyway. Really, to be honest with you. So um, that's what we're going to do. I mean, a lot of the songs that I'd write for the Quireboys were songs when I was used to have this great idea that I was going to do a solo album one day. So you always have all these songs. Um, Inevitably, were never used for solo albums. They were used for Quireboys albums because I was the one that was having to come in with the 10 songs.
Mm.
The initial ideas of the 10 songs, and everybody would contribute to it, but that's how it worked. Is I don't think anybody would disagree with me.
Yeah, yeah.
So some of them were sort of written in the back of my mind that I would be singing them, but then, you know, Spike would sing them, and some of them I'd go, oh, it sounds better with him singing, or what, you know, I'd some of them, and some of them I'm like, oh, I think I could have sung that, but I've never wanted to be the singer. I just want to make that clear, you know. It's
Yeah.
I just want to be able to continue my career and my livelihood that I've done for the last 30 years, and I don't want anyone trying to take that away from me. I'm damned if I'm going to let anyone do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the positives was, and as you know, and we've spoken about this before, not only do I do the interviews and reviews of bands from all around the world, I'm a huge Quireboys fan, and I've been there from the first album. And I have to say, still, that Amazing Disgrace was up there as one of the best in the whole catalogue.
Thanks, appreciate that. Well, it's funny when we did that album, it was actually quite a difficult album to make, but we got there in the end, and I remember we were doing a show in Sheffield somewhere, and I was staying in a hotel next to a shopping centre. You know, it's probably a Westfield or something like that, one of those things. And I was just walking in there just to try and find something to eat, and Joe Elliott called me, dropping a name there. Sorry.
As he does when you're walking into Westfield.
And he said the same thing. He said I think I think it's the best album you've ever done. Now it's hard for me to listen back to old albums, especially in the light of things that have happened and all that kind of thing. But even before then, I don't like listening back to stuff, because when we would do live stuff, it would take on its own life. You know, the songs would become more alive because you're playing them every night, or you know, the ones that you do play, and they become something else, and you wish that you'd recorded them like, you know, like that on the original album. But usually it's the first time anyone's ever heard it that they're recording it. So
yeah.
That's why I don't really sort of listen to the studio albums too much.
Did you get to do that when you re-recorded a bit of What You Fancy? Did you tweak some of the songs? Because I know there were a few that had a little bit of differences to it. And did they pick up more of the live element in the studio?
No, actually, it was a bit of a fine line with that. What we tried to do was, now remember, we were doing this in lockdown, so this was an experiment making this record. And you know, the reviews were great, and it meant a lot to me, the reviews of it, because I still think that we improved on a lot of the songs. But what we did was take the blueprint of the original drums that were done by Ian Wallace, who's sadly passed away now, but he unbelievable drummer. He was Don Henley's drummer, and Bob Dylan and Traveling Wilburys, and just a great guy. And Humble Pie, he was in Humble Pie for a little bit. King Crimson, that's the one he was famous for. And just a lovely guy. And I was lucky enough when I was 20 years old to be in a studio tracking songs live with that guy, as all of our band were. And so I just kept it exactly to that. Wanted it exactly, not exactly, you can't do it exactly, but just the same feel as he did, and then build from there. And then I was just playing what I played anyway. And then Paul and Keith kind of did how they do things now. So that's the only thing that gave it a little bit of a different feel. And then we added a few extra instruments and things. There was the luxury of doing it because couldn't do anything else. It was the lockdown.
Mm.
So yeah. It was basically sending stuff between me and Nick Malin, our producer, and and sometimes bass player as well, and just send it back and forth. And then it wasn't until like literally the last week of recording when we were able to get people into a room together where the other guys did their stuff.
Yeah, it sounded fantastic. It sounded wonderful.
Yeah, I'm really proud of what we did, how we did it. and it shows that you can do it that way. The reality is most bands do it that way. They just don't say they do it that way, you know. But then Def Leppard have just come out and have just said that's how we did the record. It was through lockdown. What's the difference? It doesn't sound any different. Everyone plays how they play. They're going to play whatever they play anyway, you know.
Yeah.
So whether you're in a room together or not, if you've been playing together for more than 4 or 5 years, you're going to know what to do instinctively.
Definitely.
So
I think the Screaming Jets have just
great.
done the same. The Screaming Jets re-released their debut album All for One
Yeah.
with the current lineup, and it sounds fantastic. And I think they did the same. They recorded all their parts. I think Cam's up in Byron Bay, and Dave lives in Adelaide, and they all sent their parts in and had it produced by the original producer, Steve James, and it sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
really good.
I mean, the thing is with all the recording techniques now, and what you will have learned over 30 years of being a musician or something. The same, I guess, the same with those guys. There's no reason it can't be better. With what as long as you've still got the same passion for it, and you're just coming at it from a different angle. That's what we tried to do, and that's what I hope we sort of achieved, which a lot of people seem to think we did. So
yeah, wonderful. Well, 2023 is going to be even more exciting for you guys, because I know we had the press release a few months ago and we got to put up the album links and everything for the vinyl. But a new album with some big names joining you guys, which sounds fantastic. I'm dribbling just when I read the list of who's on it with you. It's fantastic.
Well, the first one we did was it's a song. It's called So Glorious, and I wrote that pre-lockdown, say 4 years ago, when I was on holiday in Portugal, and I just took a guitar with me, and I had my iPhone, GarageBand or whatever, and I put this thing together, and I thought, this sounds, I really like this, but it's not really might not work for the choir boys. I couldn't imagine our old singer singing it. Let's put it that way. And that's just because of the style of it.
Yeah.
And but I write all kinds of different stuff. So just whatever comes into my head, and then you could say, oh, that could be, I could pitch that to somebody, or I could solo album, or you could do it, all this sort of stuff. And I thought, God, that sounds like something like Dan Reed Network would do or something, And I know Dan Reed, we all know, we're all friends with Dan Reed. So I just approached him, and he was like, wow, this is great. He says, can I, he's filming a movie at the moment in Prague.
Oh, wow.
And he said, oh, can I use it for the movie? And I said, yeah, because I can't pay you anything. He's like, brilliant. So he put a vocal down, sent me some. He did a bass thing on it, so he just sent it over, and I said, oh, that's amazing. And I said, oh, your vocals are great. He said, no, I don't want, I don't need to sing on it. I said, I want you to sing on it, but we'll figure out how we do it. The whole thing with this record is that I'm singing it, but I've either co-written a couple of songs with people, or they might make a little appearance in that here and there with a vocal on the choruses or pre-choruses. We haven't decided yet. We've got all the stuff, and that's the interesting thing about it at the moment, just sort of finishing stuff off, really.
Well, there's some big names. I mean, I'm looking down at Angry Anderson, who obviously our countrymen all love to see, Joe Elliott, Dan Reed, who you mentioned. We've got the boys from Buck Cherry, Stevie D and Joshy Todd there. Chip, who's been a great friend to you guys, and we'll talk about him shortly. Scotty Hill. It's a fantastic lineup of people, and Ryan Roxy, of course, who you've known many a year. It's a great
I've known
lineup of
Ryan
names.
forever. Yeah, the whole thing is it's just something I've always wanted to do. I mean, I write stuff outside of the Quireboys, and I've written for different people, and I've had I've had a couple of songs in the American country charts and things like that. So I write different stuff. It's not like we're sort of like, oh, we need people to help us out to make a record, but it's nice because it just takes everything to a different sort of a different level, or it comes from a different angle. How when someone else goes, oh well, they send something back, and you go, oh, I would never have thought that, and then you let it sink in, and you go, actually, that's a lot better.
That's cool. That's pretty cool.
The collaborative thing is a good thing, and over the years we've made so many friends, touring with so many different people, and just people we admire. And now was the time to do it, and it's a good sort of showcase for me to sing, and maybe some people who wouldn't normally listen might listen because there's someone else they like on it. It's like a little hook, a carrot.
That's fantastic. And of course, one of the names I just mentioned, Chips Enough, who joined you on the US tour earlier this year, is jumping back on with you. Is it this week in Spain?
Yeah, we meet up day after tomorrow in Spain, and start the Spanish tour, which is 10 shows, I believe.
Oh, Chip's gonna love it.
He loves it. I mean, he's been out on the road for a couple of months already, and our normal bass player Nick couldn't do the tour because he does a lot of studio work, and he was just bogged down with that. And then he's sort of finishing off a lot of the tracks that we've done, mixing and all the studio stuff that needs doing. And I'd seen Chip a few weeks ago when they started the tour with Skid Row. So just said hello. I didn't even say anything because it was in the back of my mind. And I thought he's going to be too, but he's just going to want to, I'm sure he wants to get home, but at the same time, he's a working musician, and he loves playing with us, and he didn't even think about it. He just said yes, I'm there, and it's so nice, that someone that's so talented, and I mean, he's a legendary guy. I mean, he's a real character as well. It's just all positivity.
Yeah.
So it's going to be great. And every night's different when you play with him, because he just adds in these things, and you go, wow, so it's really good.
I saw some of the clips from the US, and he looked fantastic up there with you guys.
Yeah, it was such a, like I said, it was such an honor having him along. But he's a big fan of the band. He came to see us when we did the Monsters of Rock cruise, where it was the first time where I was singing, and it was sort of, it wasn't. I certainly wasn't planning on that, and I hadn't had any rehearsals or anything, and we had 2 shows to do, and there was a lot of people from other bands came to watch it, so it's like, no pressure, but the shows went great, and just the words of encouragement from some of the other musicians was really nice and quite inspiring. And Chip was at both shows, and he said, "You ever need me to help you out, I'm there."
Brilliant.
And he said he'd love to do it. He'd love to be involved, and like I said, he's on the record. and it's great, you know. It's just it's all music. You know, what's not to like? All
It's
these
fantastic. And the
great
good thing is,
musicians.
where you had that 2 years of nothing, now you just seem to be cramming in so much, which is wonderful. So next
Mm.
year, with the album coming out, have we got a date yet?
Well, originally it was our manager always has unrealistic timelines to me anyway, but it does give us a kick up the arse. I think it'll be out in January.
Oh wow! Oh, that soon.
Yeah.
A
Oh yeah. I
perfect
mean,
stocking filler.
it's well along there, and there's going to be there's going to be a new song coming out, which
Fantastic.
you will probably everyone will hear after this interview.
That would be wonderful. We'd be honoured.
There's an
If you,
exclusive for you.
Thank you very much. That's my second exclusive you've given me. I remember when we first chatted, and you went, "Oh
It's
yeah,
an
down and out."
Australian. It's an Australian exclusive. I have
That'll
to.
do.
Yeah.
We'll take it. We'll take it. And if you go in the Rockpit and type in the Quireboys, the first press release that comes up is about the album the band rolls on, and on there are the pre-order links to both the CD and the run of 1,000 copies of vinyl. So if anyone wants to get on there, jump on the Rockpit, type in the Quireboys in the search engine, and you can get the links for the CD and the album. And I know I will be grabbing a copy of the vinyl, which will be joining my collection. That's wonderful. So next year, I presume, will be just because I know the Quireboys have always had that very timetable thing where you used to album tour, and then the money you made from the tour went back into doing the next album, and it just continued like that. Are we going to see much more of that moving forward?
I think you're going to see a lot. You're going to see a lot more music coming out from us, just because there's nothing stopping us. There's no sort of, oh, I can't do this because of this, and I can't do this because of that, and I've got this happening in my life, and I can't be. You know, we all have things happening in our lives, but we primarily we're musicians, and I still love music, and I just want to create music. We're very lucky, you know, at this point in our life to be able to do that, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know, like when we did the orchestral thing at the Forum in Kentish Town in London, it was, you know, it was so sort of intense just trying to get it together in a short period of time. But when it happened, it was such a great experience. And you know, we had the string section, you know, the brass section, the girls singers, and just the immense scope of the sound was quite a thing, you know. And just things like just doing stuff with the string section, you know, we could do an acoustic album now with those girls, or any string section, because all the songs have been scored. You know, there's things like that. There's all sorts of things we can do, and of course, with technology now, you can just turn stuff around straight away, or if you just fancy putting a song out for the hell of it, just put the song out. That's kind of how I'm looking at it from now on.
Yeah, yeah. Was there much rearranging having to be done for the orchestral stuff?
Well, we just gave them free reign, really. We just got it was put to a string arranger who's like one of the top guys in London, and he sent them back to me, and he said, "What do you think?" I said, "Great. Don't read music, so it looked fantastic. I'm sure it was, you know." And so the first time I was hearing them was when we sort of rehearsed with them, which was actually on the day of the gig. And you know, when you just sort of like, you're just speechless, just how great it is.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a song you've written, and just hearing it interpreted that way by real, you know, classically trained musicians.
Wonderful.
So that was a great experience, you know, something we haven't done for a long time. So it was like new again, doing something like that.
And of course, that's going to be coming out on DVD. And is there a vinyl or an album release of that as well?
Yeah, it's coming out on I think it's a CD and DVD package, and it'll be out on vinyl for people who pre-ordered it, who will be getting it, by the way. It's just we're just still mixing it. It's all, you know, there's a whole stuff going on in the background at the moment, but the gig only happened in September, so which was booked 2.5 years prior or 3 years prior to when we actually ended up doing it. So even though some people have ordered it from back then, we've still got to, you know, the gig didn't happen until September, so we had to sort of mix it. And then
brilliant. I'm actually going to see the Angels are bringing their orchestrated show to Perth, the 10th of December, and they've got a 40-piece orchestra playing all the big Angels hits with them on stage. Dave Gleason and the boys are doing that, and I've heard the album and seen the DVD of when they did it a couple of years ago, and it sounds spectacular.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's something when you're sort of out of your comfort zone a little bit, but that's good every now and then to, you know, to have that happen.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to putting that out. It's also going to be on what do you call it, Amazon Prime.
Oh, cool.
So people will be able to, if you're a subscriber to Amazon Prime, you'll be able to see the concert, and that'll come out at the same time as the you know, CD and vinyl and all that.
Brilliant. I am an Amazon Prime subscriber, so I can sit that and watch that from my comfort of my sofa.
Yeah, with your popcorn.
Well, I suppose one of the big questions for us expats and fans down here is, and I know it's a big ask, but we do hope you're going to get to come back here. I know it took 30 years to come down for the first time. Yeah. Please don't leave it for 30 years to the next time.
Well, so do we. And there's definitely been, with no bullshit, there's actually been proper talk of it happening, hopefully towards the end of 2023. And been talking with Scott Crawford. I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning his name, but he is the guy who brought us over before. He looks after the tats and all that, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's looking likely. We just got to figure it all out.
Well, I know there's going to be so many people excited that missed out last time. And I can tell you now, it was well worth the flight to Melbourne, and I'll be doing that again if I need to, because it was a superb night, a great lineup of bands. Palace of the King, you guys, it was just wonderful.
Palace of the King were fantastic. Some of the best bands we've toured with over the years, you know, obviously Screaming Jets, Black Aces.
Black Aces jumped up on stage with you at Melbourne.
Yeah, and they've just been in the UK, and you know, borrowed a little bit of backline off us and all that for their tour. I didn't actually get it. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see them because where all our gear is stored, it's not where I live, and I just sort of told the person, I got a message saying there's some Australian blokes here who say that they can come in and get some of your gear, and I was like, I was so tempted to say, who? Don't let them in.
They name dropped. Yeah, we got up on stage with you at the Prince's Band Room in Melbourne. Oh yeah, you guys.
Yeah. But well, yeah, I mean, we were looking forward to coming over to Australia. I mean, obviously, the sort of music we play is almost in the tradition of a lot of the bands that we love from Australia, Rose Tattoo and, you know, Jimmy Barnes and all that kind of stuff. We love all that stuff, you know.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, we did touch briefly on when you name dropped about Mr. Elliott earlier. We haven't got we haven't had the chance to congratulate you with the other project, Down and Outs. What a fantastic album that was. We picked up loads of accolades, highly acclaimed.
Yeah.
And I know you're all very busy, and I know Leopard are out on tour. I mean, they're looking to come over to the UK soon. Is there any chance the Quireboys are going to be able to squeeze in there with the fact you've name dropped him outside Westfield?
Please, Joe. No, believe me, I've dropped a few hints. We'll see what happens. But Joe's really, super supportive of everything we're doing right now. And like I said, he's on a song on the new album. And the down and outs thing, it was really disappointing from the point that, it came out just as the lockdown started. So we would have toured it at that point, but it wasn't to be. I mean, it won British Album of the Year with Planet Rock over here, so which is nice. I've got this here.
It was a fantastic album, and one I do listen to quite regularly.
I'd like to thank
Guy Griffin can't be with us tonight.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, no, but it was nice to get an award, even though that was Joe's. It's Joe's baby. He wrote the songs, but we never thought it would turn into what it turned into. It was something that was just for one gig, supporting Mock the Hoople. We're all huge Mock the Hoople fans, obviously, and there was a lot of work put into that one gig, and so it just seemed silly not to make a record. So we made a record, and then three albums later and a live album later, it's still a living, breathing thing. It's just on hold at the moment. Obviously, Def Leppard have a few things that they've got to take care of before the down and outs.
Who?
Yeah, that band. Yeah, the other band.
Well, it's been absolutely fantastic catching up with you. I'm so happy that everything's moving along all in a positive way for the Quireboys. It's a band very close to my heart. I've loved from the first album until the last album so far, and I'm so looking forward to the band rolls on. I can't wait.
Mate. Appreciate your support over the years.
Hopefully, in the next day or so, we'll get to link the new single to this interview and have it on probably just below here somewhere on the website.
Yeah.
And we hope that you can get over for 23. We'll certainly be getting into Mr. Crawford's ear and begging. I'm going to probably do the same thing as you might do with Joe Elliott this year. Just send him a bigger Christmas card, not one of those Poundland ones. Yeah. You might get that Def Leppard gig.
Never know. You never know, right?
Well, Griff, it's fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Regards to the guys, have an amazing tour in Spain. And I suppose I know it's November, but happy Christmas to you and yours. And we hope to catch up next year.